welcome to another video and welcome back to Workout Wednesdays. As always, every Wednesday we're posting an informative video about the best ways that you can work out and make sure every single workout is awesome. So in today's video we're talking about what you should do after quarantine. It's kind of like the exercises that you might be doing, how you're training after quarantine, and when you get back in the gym, the best ways to optimize them gains. So the first thing that we want to talk about is for someone that's already been training pre-quarantine and that is now not able to train, there is a lot of evidence that shows that it's going to be much easier to build back your muscle that you built pre-quarantine. So if you're losing muscle and you're starting to look a bit flat, don't worry about it. It's going to be really easy to get it back. Now there are many pieces of evidence and many studies that explain why this is. But I'll just give you a really quick and simplified reason to why you can gain your muscle back much quicker than when you gained it in the first time. So like I said, I'm going to give you a really simplified explanation of why this is able to occur. So here I'm going to be just drawing on my table because that's all I've got. But basically, if this here is your muscle cell, you've got lots of different nuclei within the muscle cell. And these are basically the things that control the actions that occur in the muscle cell. So if this is an untrained muscle cell, you can see there's not that many nuclei in the muscle. But when the muscle gets trained, the density of the nuclei, or nucleus, multiple nucleus, becomes much denser. Now, for example, in times like this, where you're not able to train, this muscle may become smaller. However, the number of nuclei or nucleus will remain the same. So because there's an increased amount of nuclei, that means there's a greater potential for muscle growth. So when you train again, the nuclei will stay the same or even increase, and you'll result in a muscle that has many nucleus, just like the pre-quarantine state. So now you understand a very simplified version of why your muscles are able to rebuild much quicker than they could originally build. We can now start talking about how you should train post-quarantine. Now obviously, because you've been through a long time of not training, you're going to be really sensitized to any sort of training, and it could potentially lead to some really intense DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's kind of that feeling after you train, your shoulders are sore, every muscle is sore for a couple of days after. Now because of this increased sensitivity, you won't actually have to do as much work as you would have had to pre-quarantine to get the same sort of DOMS and possibly the same results. So first of all, what I'd recommend is only doing just enough volume to get that good workout in without being ridiculously sore. So for example, if I went back and did 20 sets for chest in the week, after that week my chest would just be in absolute agony. So it might be a good idea to start off with maybe 8 to 10 sets in the week for each body part, and then that'll be a good starting point to try and rebuild them gains and rebuild that ability to respond well to really high volume training. Now another thing that I do is to start off with fairly minimal loads and gradually work that up over the weeks coming back into training. This is because your joints and your tendons are going to be a little bit less used to lifting them heavy weights, so you could quite possibly get injured. So I just recommend maybe starting off, presuming your 1 rep max as about 90 or 80% of what it was before, and then you can work your working sets off of that. If you don't do that, you might try and, I don't know, put some big weight on your back or try and bench some big numbers, and it could be quite possible that you get injured. So yeah, if you're looking to get your strength back in the gym, I just recommend gradually increasing it. You'll want to do it as fast as you can because obviously you want to get straight back into that high intensity training. But just be cautious of going too heavy, as it might result in a little bit of injury. So the next tip I'd say is to sort of practice your main lifts before you go straight into them. For example, if I don't squat for 2 or 3 weeks, my squat pattern and my squat technique is just absolutely bombed to the floor. It's really hard for me to get straight back into it. my hips feel a little bit tight, my knees feel a little bit sore. So for me it really helps to sort of practice that movement again and get used to doing that movement with lighter loads before I try and put some weight on. So practicing this technique is also going to help you increase that mind-muscle connection with the actual muscle that you're trying to target. For example, if I go into a squat and my technique doesn't feel good, I can't properly focus on that muscle that I'm trying to hit. So I think it's really important to just really focus down on that technique, build it back up to 100%, and then you can go hit some big weights. Now I know a lot of you will be wanting to see maximum gains as soon as you can. So it could be a good idea to utilise some pump training while you're using these lighter loads, and you'll be able to use this pump training for maybe 3 or 4 weeks and see some decent gains. So this is kind of working in that higher rep range, so maybe 15, maybe up to 20 reps, and you're really trying to get some blood flow in there, and you will see some decent gains coming off of that in the first few weeks. Now, I would only recommend doing this while you're using the lighter loads, because eventually after the 3 or 4 weeks the effectiveness of just doing pump training will drastically decrease. So you won't be able to get many gains from just doing pump training. So it could be a good idea for 3 or 4 weeks, going in the gym, getting a good pump, but after that maybe start to try to progressively overload your lifts once again and really try to get some good strength gains back in the gym. So I hope this video was really useful to you. It gives you a little idea of what you should be doing when you get back to the gym post-quarantine. Now we don't know when this is yet, so while you're waiting I would highly recommend my video on at-home training. It's like a full body routine that can keep some of your gains while we're waiting for the gyms to reopen. So go check that out, I'll put the link in the description. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed Workout Wednesdays. As always, on Friday we're going to be posting 5 Minute Friday, where it's a really quick video on how to get some serious gains. So yeah, enjoy your quarantine and go get some gains.